Okay, is the screen visible? Okay, we'll start with the new topic, that is chronic pharyngitis. Okay, the etiological factors of chronic pharyngitis. They are, first one is age group that is affected is above 15 years of age mostly. Then sex, both the sexes are equally affected. Now the predisposing factors. They are endogenous factors and exogenous factors. Again, endogenous factors, they are from within the body. That is, first one is nose and paranasal sinuses. Okay. There will be when there is no nasal blocking due to DNS or hypertrophic turbinate or polyp. It make the patient to breathe through mouth. Okay, and that will lead to pharyngitis. Okay, when there is nasal blocking, okay, nasal blocking may be due to DNS, that is deviated nasal septum, or it may be because of hypertrophic turbinate or because of polyp. And because of blockage of nose, patient will breathe through mouth. Okay, and that's why directly infection will pass through the mouth into the pharynx, so patient will easily have pharyngitis. It will lead to pharyngitis. The next one is chronic sinusitis may lead to chronic pharyngitis of lateral wall due to purulent post-nasal discharge that trickles down into in the pharynx. So we have seen in sinusitis, in chronic sinusitis, there is it is characterized by, or the characteristic clinical feature of sinusitis is there is post-nasal drip, post-nasal discharge is there. So in chronic sinusitis, as there is a purulent post-nasal discharge that trickles down into the pharynx, it will cause, that discharge will cause pharyngitis. Okay. Then if a patient is having allergic rhinitis, okay, allergic rhinitis, then that condition may lead to allergic pharyngitis also. Okay, so these are the three conditions in nose and paranasal sinuses. First one is because of nasal blockage, which is due to DNS or hypertrophic turbinate or polyp. It will make the patient to breathe through mouth, and directly infection will pass through mouth to the pharynx and patient will have pharyngitis. This is first one. Then second one is due to chronic sinusitis. In chronic sinusitis there is post nasal discharge. That post nasal discharge will lead to uh, chronic pharyngitis. And third one is allergic rhinitis. If patient is a patient a person is a patient of allergic rhinitis, that allergy may lead to allergic pharyngitis also. Then second one is throat. If there is chronic tonsillitis or any chronic dental sepsis, that may also lead to chronic pharyngitis. Okay, chronic bronchitis or chronic tonsillitis and chronic dental sepsis. If a person is patient of chronic tonsillitis or if he is having chronic dental sepsis, that infection may lead to, or it may act as a septic focus, and it will lead to throat infection, that is pharyngitis, chronic pharyngitis. Next one is a respiratory tract. If there is chronic bronchitis or bronchiectasis, that may also lead to chronic pharyngitis. Okay, when there is chronic bronchitis or bronchiectasis, that will lead to chronic pharyngitis. Then another condition, that is acid reflux due to hiatus hernia or hyperacidity, that may also lead to chronic pharyngitis. Then tropical eosinophilia may manifest as pharyngitis. And lastly, intestinal parasite that will cause allergic pharyngitis. And there are some other causes like overuse of voice or faulty voice production. Those conditions will lead to again chronic pharyngitis. Okay, so these are the endogenous factors. That is because of infections of nose or paranasal sinuses, then infection of throat or any other infection, chronic infection of respiratory tract, or because of acid reflux, because of hyperacidity, or tropical eosinophilia, or intestinal parasite is if it is present, then that may cause allergic pharyngitis. Then there are exogenous factors. Exogenous factors, it includes tobacco, smoking and chewing. It will act as a chronic irritant. Okay, smoking or chewing tobacco, it will act as a chronic irritant and it will lead to chronic pharyngitis. That is called as smoker's throat. Then again other conditions, atmospheric pollutions and alcohol will also act as a irritant. Okay, these are the exogenous factors: tobacco chewing, smoking, atmospheric pollution, and alcohol. These all factors act as a irritant. It will cause irritation to the throat. It will cause irritation to the throat, and again it will lead to pharyngitis. Then functional, emotional factors and fear of malignancy may also lead to or it may aggravate the condition. So these are the three predisposing factors: endogenous factors, endogenous, that is within the body, that is if there is any chronic infection of nose, paranasal sinuses, throat or respiratory tract, etc. Or exogenous factors, it includes the tobacco, tobacco, chewing or smoking, or atmospheric pollution and alcohol. And third one is functional factors, that is emotional factor and fear of malignancy. This patient tends to hawk continuously. These patients hawk continuously, and this will aggravate the condition of pharyngitis. So these are the etiological factors. Any difficulty in etiological factors? Okay, next point is pathology. Okay, this is the picture how the pharyngeal, posterior pharyngeal wall will look. Okay, there will be changes of inflammation and there is hyperplasia seen in the mucosa and submucosa. Inflammatory changes and there will be hyperplasia of mucosa and submucosa. The mucosal glands are hypertrophied and they become cystic. Okay, and there is marked lymphoid hyperplasia. It will give granular appearance. Okay, there is inflammation, you can see hyperplasia of mucosal gland that is seen, and there is marked lymphoid hyperplasia that will give the appearance of a posterior pharyngeal wall. It will give appearance, granular appearance. Okay, so when you examine the patient, this is how the picture you can see through the throat. Okay, now the symptoms, clinical features of chronic pharyngitis. First symptom is irritation. There will be chronic irritation in the throat often with foreign body sensation. It causes continuous hawking to clear the throat. Okay, there is continuous irritation in the throat, and there is sensation of as if there is foreign body is present in the throat, and patient continues to hawk to clear the throat. So, uh, first symptom is irritation, and there will be hawking. Then cough is present, which is dry and irritating cough. Then throat pain may be present, and there is vocal fatigue. The voice is tired because of continuous hawking. Patient continuously hawks, so there will be vocal fatigue, that is, the voice is tired. So, okay, signs. First one is catarrhal. There will be in catarrhal stage, there will be general congestion of the throat or posterior pharyngeal wall. Then granular stage, the posterior pharyngeal wall appears to be studded with granules. They are pink to deep red color. Then third stage is follicular. There may be single or multiple yellowish cyst you can see, and due to cystic changes in the mucosal glands. Okay, when there is first in granular stage, only the mucosal glands will become pinkish or deep red colored. Granules can be seen on the posterior pharyngeal wall, but in follicular stage, these mucosal glands, they uh, there may be yellowish cyst you can see on the posterior pharyngeal wall. They may be single or multiple cysts. Then next there will be lateral band pharyngitis at the lateral portion of pharyngeal wall along the tract of posterior nasal discharge. There will be a lateral band that can be seen in chronic pharyngitis, and that is because of continuous forced nasal discharge. And next is atrophic pharyngitis. This may accompany the atrophic rhinitis also. There is glazed mucosa with wrinkles on gagging. So these are the three stages you can see when you examine the patient. First stage will be catarrhal stage. There will be general congestion. Second stage, if the patient is in second stage, then you can see the posterior wall is studded with granules and the color is pink or deep red. Then third one is follicular stage. There may be single or multiple yellowish cysts can be seen on the wall of pharynx due to this is because of cystic changes that occur in mucosal glands. Okay, and also the lateral band can be seen on the lateral portion of pharyngeal wall along the track of postnasal discharge. Okay, this is all about the clinical features of chronic pharyngitis. Any difficulty? There is no difficulty. Everything is easy for them. No? Any difficulty? Okay, now the investigations. First is routine hemogram for eosinophilia and for anemia. Okay, we have seen in etiological factor, that is tropical eosinophilia. It is one of the cause, so you have to do the routine hemogram. Uh, it may show eosinophilia and anemia. Then X-ray of paranasal sinuses, that is done for sinusitis, because we have seen in etiological factors that chronic sinusitis is one of the cause for chronic pharyngitis. So you have to do X-ray paranasal sinuses to rule out sinusitis. Then you have to do X-ray chest because chronic bronchitis or bronchiectasis or tuberculosis is also a etiological factor of chronic pharyngitis. So to rule out these conditions, you have to do X-ray chest. And lastly, throat swab, that is the smear culture and antibiotic sensitivity test. This throat swab is taken to detect the antibiotic, perfect antibiotic. You have to do the culture sensitivity test of throat swab. The throat swab is taken. And lastly, the treatment. So the first treatment is you have to treat the cause first. Okay, you have to find out the cause with the help of investigations, and you have to treat the cause. Then the hawking should be avoided. Then you may give steam inhalation for soothing. Steam inhalation is given for soothing. Then chemical cautery is done for 15 with the help of 15% silver nitrate that is applied once a week for 4 to 5 sittings that will give relief, a symptomatic relief for long time. And electrocautery can be done in resistance cases. Who was singing? Hello. हाँ, अभी बोलो, अभी गाना गाओ, चलो। किसको गाना गाना है? कोणाला गाणं म्हणायचंय? बोलो ना अभी. Who was singing? इतना आवाज आपका अच्छा है ना, तो बहुत स्टेजेस है, तो वहां पे जाके गाना गाओ. ये दिस इज नॉट द स्टेज फॉर सिंगिंग. ओके, अभी इसके बाद जो भी कोई गाना गाएगा या कुछ भी कमेंट करेगा, आई विल मार्क एवरीबडी एब्सेंट. ओके, नहीं आपको अटेंड करना है तो मत करो ना. Okay, now, okay, what was the yesterday's homework? And pigeon chest. What is that? हो. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Huh. हो. हो. Hmm. And next one is pigeon chest. It is seen in which diseases? Hmm. Hmm. वाचलं. पिजनचे ओके हां ओके ठीक आहे. पण कशामध्ये होतं ते हां 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 बोलो. ओके बट इन विच डिसीजेस इट कॅन बी. हो. येस. बट विच आर द डिसीजेस इट कॅन बी सीन इन. हां होऊ शकेल. पण डिसीजेस कोणते डिसीज कंडिशन कोणती आहे की त्याच्यामध्ये होऊ शकतं पिजन चेस्ट. ओके. ओके ठीक है. आज के टॉपिक में कुछ डिफिकल्टी है? इज देयर एनी डिफिकल्टी इन टुडेज टॉपिक दैट इज क्रोनिक फेरेंजाइटिस? अरे बोलो, अभी बोलो. गाना गाने के लिए नहीं बोल रही हूँ मैं. अभी बोल. अभी बोलो चलो. कौन सिंगिंग कर रहा था? कसं काय? ओके. ओके. एनी डिफिकल्टी? ऑलमोस्ट सगळे ई एन टीचे म्हणजे जे थ्रोटच्या कंडिशन्स आहेत इटिओलॉजिकल फॅक्टर्स आर ऑलमोस्ट सेम. दी क्लिनिकल फीचर्स आर ऑलमोस्ट सेम as well as the pathological changes and uh, the investigations. सगळ्याचे जवळजवळ सारखे आहेत. थोडेफार फरक आहे फक्त प्रत्येक कंडिशन्समध्ये. Okay, that you have to remember. Otherwise, clinical features, cytological fake factors, almost same आहे. As well as treatment also. Okay, so no difficulty in chronic pharyngitis. Okay, the next condition that is quinsy or peritonsillar abscess. What is quinsy? It is a peritonsillar abscess, that is collection of pus outside the tonsillar capsule and medial to the superior constrictor muscle. Okay, and the definition is collection of pus outside the tonsillar capsule and medial to superior constrictor muscle. It originates as peritonsillitis and it culminates into peritonsillar abscess, and usually it is unilateral. Okay. So when there is mostly most of the times there is peritonsillar peritonsillitis, that is inflammation around the tonsils, that is in the tonsillar capsule, and that will lead to, or it will culminate into the peritonsillar abscess, and this abscess is usually unilateral. Okay, then the types of quinsy. First one is anterior presentation, second is posterior presentation, then lingual, and fourth one is tonsillar. So first type is anterior presentation. It is the commonest type, and the abscess points through the anterior pillar of tonsil. Okay, then in posterior presentation, when there is posterior presentation, it will push the tonsils forward because the abscess is present on the posterior side of tonsil, so it will push the tonsil forward. Third one is lingual, that is in the lower pole of tonsil. The abscess is in the lower pole of tonsil. The lower pole of tonsil is affected. And tonsillar, the fourth one is tonsillar, that is within the tonsil. Okay, you understood the um, definition. There is collection of pus outside the tonsillar capsule and medial to the superior constrictor muscle. Okay, the pus is collected in outside the tonsillar capsule and medial to the superior constrictor muscle. Okay, this is the tonsillar affection, peritonsillar abscess or quinsy. Okay. These are the types, that is anterior presentation when it is the abscess is present on the anterior pillar, then posterior presentation, that is on the posterior side, it will push the uh, tonsil forward. Then third one is lingual presentation, that is on the lower pole of abscess, tonsil, the abscess present, and fourth one is tonsillar, that is within the tonsil. These are the four types of quinsy. The etiological factors are age group affected. This is common in between the 20 to 50 years of age, mostly seen in, or it is more common in males. Then the predisposing factors is their recurrent tonsillitis. Predisposing factors are recurrent tonsillitis. If the patient is having recurrent infections of tonsils, then that may lead to quinsy or peritonsillar abscess. Then foreign body is, if it is present or if it is embedded into the tonsillar tissue, then that may also lead to peritonsillar abscess. And third predisposing factor is tonsillar tag, that is left behind after tonsillectomy. Okay, if there is tonsillar tag that is left behind after tonsillectomy, it may also be one of the cause for peritonsillar abscess. So these are the three main predisposing factors: recurrent tonsillitis, foreign body that is present in the tonsil, and tonsillar tag that is left behind after tonsillectomy. Then the pathology. As a result of a recurrent attack of tonsillitis, the mouth of tonsillar crypts will become fibrosed. Okay, there are tonsillar crypts on the tonsillar, in the tonsillar tissue. So because of recurrent attacks of tonsillitis, if the patient is having recurrent tonsillitis, then the mouth of the crypts, they become fibrosed. And if there is any other fresh attack of infection, the mouth of crypt, as it is completely closed because of edema and fibrotic stenosis, so instead of draining into the oral cavity, the pus breaks into the capsule of tonsil, and it will lead to peritonsillar cellulitis, and it will develop into peritonsillar abscess. Okay, once again I will repeat the pathology. Okay, so there are crypts that are present into the tonsillar tissue. Okay, when if the patient is getting at recurrent attack of tonsillitis, this tonsil the mouths of these tonsillar crypts, they become fibrosed. Okay, the mouth of those tonsillar crypts, they become fibrosed. And if the patient is having fresh attack of any infection, जर पेशंटला इन्फेक्शन झालं तर the mouth of crypt will completely closed, as there is fibrotic changes or fibrotic stenosis is there, and because of edema. Okay, as there is infection there will be edema, as well as the mouth, they become fibrosed. Okay, the mouth of crypt is fibrosed, so the mouth of crypt, it becomes completely closed because of edema and fibrotic stenosis. So, instead of draining the pus into the oral cavity through the crypts, it will break into the capsule of tonsils only, and that will lead to peritonsillar cellulitis, and it will develop into peritonsillar abscess. Okay, समजलं का pathology? Okay. Then the symptoms. First one is severe pain. There will be unilateral pain in the throat that will radiate to ear, and it will aggravate on swallowing. So first symptom is pain. Quinsy is mostly unilateral. So patient will have severe unilateral pain in the throat, and it will radiate to ear, and it will aggravate on swallowing. There will be pain that aggravates on swallowing. Then second one is trismus, that is difficulty in opening the mouth, and if you if that person attempt to open the mouth, it is painful. Okay, there will be spasm of pterygoid muscle, so there is difficulty in opening the mouth and it is painful. The next one is salivation, that is increased. Speech becomes thick and it is accompanied by a rattling sound of saliva, and other constitutional symptoms like malaise, fever, body ache. Those are present, but they depend. Okay, symptoms. First one is pain. There is severe unilateral pain in throat, radiates to ear, and it gets aggravated by swallowing. Then second symptom is trismus, that is difficulty in opening the mouth. And if the person tries to open the mouth, it is very painful, and that is because of spasm of pterygoid muscle. The salivation is increased, the speech becomes thick, and it is accompanied by rattling sound of saliva. As there is increased salivation, There will be rattling sound of saliva while speaking. And the constitutional symptoms like malaise, fever, body ache, they are present, and it depend this fever or body ache or malaise, weakness, that depends upon the severity of the symptoms or severity of the disease. Okay, now the signs. The anterior pillar, it will swell and it will look reddish. Okay, so there is swelling and redness of anterior pillar. Then the tonsil, if you look it through the oral cavity, the tonsil will look congested and it is pushed medially and downwards. The vulva becomes edematous, it is elongated and it is pushed towards the opposite side. Okay, as the tonsil is enlarged, it is edematous, it becomes congested. As there is abscess is present on one side, so the vulva will be pushed on the opposite side. Okay, the vulva also becomes edematous and it becomes elongated. Okay, then trismus in it is in proportion with the severity of infection. If the infection is severe, as we have seen the um, pus that is collected into the tonsil outside the tonsillar capsule and medial to the superior constrictor muscle. So if the infection is more, okay, the abscess is as the if the abscess is larger in size, then there is more difficulty in opening the mouth, or it is very painful. That condition to open the mouth is very painful. So it is directly proportion with the severity of infection. Then halitosis is present. Halitosis is, what is halitosis? Breath, breath. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Then there is cervical lymphadenopathy, which is very marked. So if you examine the cervical lymph nodes, then they are enlarged or painful. Then the rupture of abscess may occur spontaneously after 7 to 8 days. So spontaneously the abscess may get ruptured after 7 to 8 days. So all these are the clinical features: pain, unilateral pain, aggravates on swallowing, there is trismus, that is difficulty in opening the mouth, and it is very painful to open the mouth. Then salivation is increased and speech becomes thick and there will be rattling sound of saliva, and other constitutional symptoms are present like malaise, fever and body. And signs, these are the signs: the anterior pillar, there is swelling and redness, tonsil is congested, hypertrophied, it is pushed medially and downwards. Then vulva becomes edematous, it becomes elongated and it is pushed on the opposite side. There is trismus, halitosis is present, cervical lymphadenopathy is well marked, and the rupture of abscess may occur spontaneously after 7 to 8 days. Then the differential diagnosis of peritonsillar abscess. First one is acute tonsillitis. Okay, in acute tonsillitis, the acute tonsillitis is usually bilateral. If the patient is having acute tonsillitis, it is bilateral, while the quinsy is unilateral. Okay, in acute tonsillitis, pain is not so severe and it doesn't radiate to ear, while in quinsy or in peritonsillar abscess, the pain is severe and it will radiate to ear on the affected side. This is the differentiation of acute tonsillitis and quinsy. Second condition is retropharyngeal abscess and parapharyngeal abscess. These are similar to the quinsy clinically. Okay, almost retropharyngeal abscess and or parapharyngeal abscess, they are almost similar to that of the quinsy. All the clinical features and all, they are similar to that of the peritonsillar abscess. And third one is malignancy of tonsil. Malignancy, it is less painful. Okay, it is a chronic condition mostly. Malignancy is a chronic condition. It is less painful, and this tonsil, there will be hard. It is hard, and pus doesn't come out on incision. Okay, when there is quinsy or peritonsillar abscess, if you take incision on the tonsil, pus will come out. While if there is malignancy of tonsil, it is hard and pus will not come out if you take an incision on the tonsil. So these are the differentiating points. Next one is complications. Complications are rare due to antibiotics, or it may lead to other complications like parapharyngeal abscess or local venous thrombosis or phlebitis of internal jugular vein or septicemia from thrombophlebitis or hemorrhage due to necrosis of internal carotid artery. Almost if the patient is having quinsy or peritonsillar abscess, there are various range of antibiotics. So because of all this advanced treatment and antibiotics, the complication nowadays they are very rarely seen. But if the complication occur, and those complications are parapharyngeal abscess or local venous thrombosis or phlebitis of internal jugular vein or septicemia from thrombophlebitis, or there may be hemorrhage because of necrosis of internal carotid artery. Treatment, there is conservative treatment and surgical treatment. Conservative treatment includes antibiotics. As there is infection, pus formation is there, you have to give antibiotics. Then as there is pain and fever, body ache, etc., you have to give analgesic anti-inflammatory drugs to relieve the pain and fever. Then oral hygiene should be maintained properly, and adequate hydration should be advised to the patient. Then surgical treatment is incision and drainage. Okay, once the abscess is formed, incision and drainage it is required. So it is done under local anesthesia. Local anesthesia, that is, it is sprayed on area to be incised. Okay, you have to spray the local anesthetic agent, that is 4% lignocaine, on the area that has to be inside, or the general anesthesia is avoided as the pus can enter into the tracheobronchial tree. So you have to avoid the general anesthesia, and this procedure is done under the local anesthesia. The site of incision is intersection of imaginary horizontal line through the base of vulva and a vertical line along the base of anterior pillar. Okay, uh, for the site of incision, you have to take a imaginary line, that is intersection of imaginary horizontal line through the base of vulva. Base of vulva, say a horizontal line or a vertical line along the base of anterior pillar. One horizontal and one vertical line, that intersection of those two lines, that will be the point of incision. Incision may be at the site of maximum pointing. If the pus point is seen, okay, so that pus point may be incised. These are the two sites. Okay, first one is intersection of two lines, that is a horizontal line through the base of vulva and a vertical line along the base of anterior pillar. That intersection will be the point of incision, or other point of incision is maximum pointing. Okay, maximum pointing of pus. If you can see the through the oral cavity a pus point, then that may be the um, site of incision. After incision and drainage, you have to when you uh, localize the site of incision, you have to incise that point, and you have to drain the pus from the tonsil. After incision and drainage, hydrogen peroxide gargles are given to the patient, and then antibiotics and analgesics are given. Okay, so these are the sites of incision. This one is the horizontal line. Okay, this is the horizontal line, and this is the vertical line. This one is the vulva, the base of vulva, one line, one horizontal line from the base of vulva, and vertical line from the base of anterior pillar. This is the site of incision. You have to um, incise the tonsil at this site, or the site where there is maximum pointing of pus. This may be the sign. So you have to take an incision over that point, and you have to drain the pus. This is the incision and drainage. ओके, कळालं का सगळ्यांना? ट्रीटमेंट ट्रीटमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ इन्सिजन कळालेत? Okay. And lastly, this is the surgical treatment, that is incision and drainage. And lastly, there is treatment, that is tonsillectomy. After 4 to 6 weeks after um, this procedure, tonsillectomy is performed to prevent recurrence. Okay, to prevent the recurrence, uh, patient is advised to do tonsillectomy after 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. Okay, so no difficulty. Is there any difficulty? ओके चलो, सो होमवर्क नहीं दिया आज कुछ भी ना? ओके चलो, आई विल एंड द मीटिंग नाउ.